Hi guys, good afternoon and welcome to Business Lunch. I'm Pavitra Parekh. A quick look at the markets which have moved into the red a while ago, and we are trading at pretty much the low point of the day. So we're currently around 10 points in the red, and this is after that solid open that we got right at the start, right? By the way, it is important to point out that the Asian markets are looking very strong today. So whether you look at a Sensex, that is of course seeing the biggest gain. It did open in the red, but now it is seeing the biggest gain, up over 450 points. Taiwan is doing well. So in that context, our markets have slipped a little bit. It is, however, the PSU Bank Index, which is looking solid as ever. There's no slip there at all. So that one is seeing a good gain. This is for the month, by the way, 23% higher for the month. And a few of those names will come up. Those, of course, looking very good. On the downside, it is a few of the pharma names which are coming in for some profit taking. But let's do one thing. We'll kickstart the show and talk about all of the individual stories that you should track. PSU lenders, like I was telling you, State Bank of India, as well as Bank of Baroda, both hit 52-week highs after both of them posted standout second quarter numbers. So let's hear out what the managements of these companies had to tell us earlier.
We have got visibility of either proposals in pipeline or one which are sanctioned already, awaiting disbursement. So all that is somewhere in the range of about 3.5 trillion plus as far as the corporates are concerned. So I expect that going forward, the kind of availment which has happened from corporates in this quarter will have the visibility of similar availment going forward, because corporates are earlier raising money from overseas markets. Now overseas markets have turned expensive, and with the hedging cost, perhaps it is much cheaper to borrow from India as compared to borrowing overseas. And infrastructure continues to be a major focus area. And apart from that, the renewable energy is another very major area. And the PLI has also started showing good demand. We have got some investments which are likely to be up for redemption in the current year, and it is as high as about more than 3.5 trillion as on 30th September when we have compiled these results, though it is even on the higher side now. So I think we will be in a position to unwind these investments and support the credit growth as and when this kind of a visibility will be there. And apart from that, at a system level also, I think the government, normally we expect that the spending from the government will also go up somewhere towards December, January, and that will also bring in more money into the system, and which will also address the liquidity requirement of the banking system.
Credit costs have been trending downwards, and to my mind, there is scope for it to come down further as the residual impact of COVID dissipates. We had guided earlier that credit costs should, for the bank, be between 1.25 and 1.5%, although they are less than 1% this quarter. But there always are uncertainties. So for the moment, we have improved our guidance to between 1 to 1.25%.
All right, very positive guidance coming through both from SBI as well as Bank of Baroda. SBI is one of the top gainers on the Nifty, and Bank of Baroda seeing a gain of almost 9%. But with that, let's talk about the top gainer on the Nifty, that is Britannia. It surges to all-time highs. The market cap of the company has also crossed 1 lakh crores after reporting an all-around beat in the second quarter. So let's listen into what Varun Berry, MD of the company, had to say during the company's conference call earlier today.
While I'm not on the board of Bombay Dyeing, but whatever we know is that Bombay Dyeing has already clarified through the press release, that it's fully compliant and will exercise its right to appeal against the SEBI order. We've taken debt, yes. We've taken debt for our Ranjangaon expansion, which was a lot of that in dairy. The dairy plant is almost ready and should be commercialized soon. So dairy, then we've got a factory coming up in Tamil Nadu, a factory coming up in UP to fund that, and we've got a loan at a very low price. We've got a loan at 5.8%. So we are looking at approximately exit rate of about 150 crores, which is I would say a reasonable number for a product which has just been launched. The total NPD contribution, it will probably be about 5%.
All right, that is the word coming in from the Britannia management. The stock almost 9% higher as we speak. But the other stock in focus today is Interglobe Aviation. It reported quite a mixed bag. So the revenue growth was strong, but the margin did remain under pressure this time around. So here's a word from the CEO of the company on their performance in this quarter, as well as what their expansion plans are going forward.
If we see where we are today, we made a loss if we exclude it from foreign exchange. And if we were to exclude from the enormous increase in the fuel prices, we would have definitely in a much better spot. And if you see where we are today with travel numbers basically hitting 7% higher than the situation prior to COVID, with load factors in the quarter, which is seasonally weak, around the 80%, and with a yield which is normally in this quarter going down by 10% as compared to the previous quarter, it's now running at just a 3% lower level. So if you take all these elements together, we see a very solid market development. But obviously, the price of fuel and these rate of exchange, as we just alluded on, had a negative effect. Take a little look forward. We continue our capacity expansion and our network expansion in the third and the fourth quarter going forward. Actually, in the second quarter, we have inaugurated our 100th destination. We continue to expand that network, and we expect to end this year in some 13 to 70% capacity levels higher than the pre-COVID situation. Clearly, demand, as we have seen, remains to be very strong, and that's also why we're taking a lot of measures in order to meet with this increasing demand. Clearly, our priority so far has been restoring the network.
Okay, that is the management of Indigo saying that capacity could be 13 to 17% higher by the end of FY23. This is versus the pre-COVID level, so that's an important word coming in. But with that, it's time for our first short break on the show. You don't go anywhere. There's lots more action coming up for you on the other side. Hey guys, welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch. Now, an important story. The World Bank could soon announce a big investment towards promotion of green hydrogen across the world. And we learned from sources that India could play a big role here. So Parikshit joins us with the details. Parikshit, what are you picking up?
Well, CNBC-TV18 has learned from sources that the World Bank could soon launch a green coalition on green hydrogen. World Bank officials are in talks with Prime Minister's office about the hydrogen initiative. Promoting hydrogen energy in India could be a big focus of the World Bank's program. In response to a CNBC-TV18 query, the World Bank said that they are seeing a strong demand for assistance from client countries for developing hydrogen programs and confirmed that the World Bank would soon launch a new hydrogen partnership. The program would be managed by the Energy Sector Management Assistance Program. The World Bank is likely to make substantial commitments to this initiative, and the effort would be to bring together best practices on hydrogen energy relevant to clients and also provide advice and capacity building on policy and project development. The World Bank's commitment could spur even greater private sector investment. The PM had launched the Green Hydrogen Mission on 15th August 2021, and the centre has allotted 20,000 crore for this program. Sources say the government is likely to allocate 12,000 crore for a PLI scheme for green hydrogen and electrolyzers out of this outlay, and the scheme is now awaiting cabinet approval.
All right, Parikshit, thanks a lot for getting us all of the details. By the way, Automotive Axles earnings are flashing on your screen. Looks like a very good set. The stock has also spiked up. The margin figure really stands out. It's at 10.6% versus the around 7% that we saw last year. So that one is looking quite good. The EBITDA also has more than doubled. But with that, we're going to get into a short break now. On the other side, the Supreme Court upholds the 10% quota for the economically weaker section in government jobs across educational institutions as well. So more on that story when we come back. Welcome back. Now, an important story from the courts. The Supreme Court today upholds the 10% quota for economically weaker section in government jobs as well as across educational institutions. Ashmit joins us with the details. Ashmit, take us through the order.
Well, the bone of contention was a 2019 amendment that was ratified by the Parliament. It was called the 103rd Constitutional Amendment. What that effectively did is that introduced a 10% quota for public jobs as well as for public and private educational institutions. This would be over and above the SC, ST and the OBC quota, which is already provided for. And this was challenged in the 2019. There was a batch of 40 applications. Chief Justice U.U. Lalit constituted a special bench of 5 judges to hear the matter. The judgment was reserved on September 27th. The questions that were up for consideration were, can a reservation be provided solely on the economic criteria? Given that this constitutional amendment excludes the SC, ST, OBC from this 10% EWS quota, economically weaker section quota? Is that constitutionally tenable? And thirdly and finally, can the government enforce a quota even on private institutions, educational institutions, which are not aided or not receiving any support from the government? To answer these questions, the Apex Court has held, by way of a majority of those judges, 3:2 is the majority, a split verdict. The Supreme Court holding unequivocally that this is in fact here to stay. This amendment is constitutionally valid. The constitutional challenges, the petitions that were filed against the EWS quota have been dismissed. What's interesting is that the Chief Justice himself was in a minority. He was one of 2 judges who differed with this view, saying that this is constitutionally untenable, that it appears to be arbitrary on the face of it. It is violative of Articles 15 and 16. So a split verdict, 3:2, but essentially the Apex Court upholding the 10% EWS quota. Back to you.
All right, Ashmit, thanks a lot for bringing us all of the details from the courts on this important order. But with that, let's move on to another important story. The 14th Assembly elections in Himachal Pradesh on the 12th of November will be the first COVID restrictions-free elections in the country. So the mountain state will set the stage for other state elections as well, which will follow in 2023. So which are the main parties competing? What are they promising? Santya Gora brings us this ground report.
The beautiful mountain state is famous for its snow, apple orchards, mesmerizing mountain ranges and beautiful landscapes. These days, another color is added to the state. Himachal Pradesh is going to polls on 12th November, and the state is vibrant with the massive campaigning by key political parties. No party has seen back-to-back victory for 2 consecutive terms since 1985. But the ruling party BJP is betting on Modi factor and double-engine Sarkar formula.
हिमाचल के लोग मोदी जी को अपना आदर्श मानते हैं, उनके साथ बहुत अपने आप जो है भावनात्मक दृष्टि से जोड़ते हैं और प्रधानमंत्री जी भी जोड़ते हैं, तो निश्चित रूप से इसका लाभ हमको होगा। और राजनीतिक दृष्टि से भी कहूँ मैं और भावनात्मक दृष्टि से भी मैं कहूँ कि मोदी जी के बिना हिमाचल हमारे लिए कल्पना से परे का विषय है।
It's not going to be that easy for the BJP though. Despite the central and state party leadership pushing for double-engine Sarkar agenda, anti-incumbency can be a spoiler for the BJP. The BJP is also facing issues like apple-growing communities' anger, inflation, water crisis and unemployment. Demand of old pension scheme restoration is also a catch-22 situation for BJP.
उम्मीद है कि ओपीएस वापस आ सकती है हिमाचल?
मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि ओपीएस आए, चाहे ओपीएस का इसका कोई एक सॉल्यूशन कोई निकले, कोई रास्ता निकल आए, और वो निकलेगा तभी जब केंद्र सरकार इसमें आगे बढ़ कर के मदद करेगी, और केंद्र में भाजपा की सरकार है।
Congress, on the other hand, has pinned its hope on people's aversion to repeat any party for 2 consecutive terms. Congress is also betting on a sympathy wave for Pratibha Singh, who is the wife of former state CM late Veerbhadra Singh. Congress also claims that BJP's shortcomings will pave the way for Congress's victory, though lack of a CM face can hamper its position.
We are very sure that Congress party will form a government with an absolute majority of 45 plus legislators, and once that is settled, then the legislators will take a call and the High Command will take a call that who has to lead the state in the times to come.
Aam Aadmi Party is claiming to be the X factor in these elections. Party's morale is high post its Punjab victory. Aam Aadmi Party claims that there is a surprise in the store. Experts have a different take though.
Or as a political organization, they have failed to set up an organization which could cover the interior or the farthest district of Himachal Pradesh like Chamba and the farthest place of Shimla district like Dodrakwa, Chopal, etc., etc. And the choice of the candidate, they've got a very weak choice of the candidates.
Fate of these parties will be decided on 12th November when over 55 lakh voters will cast their votes in 68 constituencies of the state. BJP believes that Modi factor and nationalism will get it some brownie points. Congress claims that people will vote keeping local issues in mind, and BJP's non-performance will enhance Congress's chances. Aam Aadmi Party is claiming that it has made inroads in rural Himachal, and then there are regional parties like Rashtriya Devbhoomi Party. Himachal Pradesh Assembly Election 2022 are not only going to be interesting but also important, as these elections are going to kickstart the most festive season of our democracy, election season. In Himachal Pradesh with camera person Balbir Singh, this is Santya for CNBC-TV18.
All right, that is some context for you ahead of the Himachal Pradesh Assembly polls, and good to see Santhya there in Himachal as well. But with that, we're going to wind down on this edition of Business Lunch. It is a 25-point cut on the Nifty. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Mid-Cap Radar comes up next.